Hey Megan, would you repeat the question?
Hey, yeah, of course. I'm sorry. So today we're talking about accounting software. So QuickBooks, Wave, Xero, those types of things. So just curious what everybody is currently using and what your thoughts are on multiple, or are you sticking with one, that type of thing. And again, y'all, I am so sorry. Y'all know you got to deal with me every day with this. It's like we got so many different places that everything's got to be live and all the things. Just lots of buttons to push. Um, if anybody is watching on any of the social medias, Facebook, YouTube, if y'all would like to join, definitely feel free to hit that Zoom link. We would love to have y'all. QuickBooks. Thinking you might learn Xero, QuickBooks Online, and Sage. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you're watching on social media, feel free to hop on Zoom if you want to chat with us live. Happy to answer any questions and stuff that we have there. But welcome back to the Bookkeeper Blueprint podcast. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the choosing between bookkeeping softwares because especially in the very beginning, it can be extremely overwhelming. Do you use QuickBooks? Do you use Xero? Do you use Wave? Like, what's the difference? Where should you even start? And even like from QuickBooks Online to QuickBooks Desktop and all the different things. And sometimes it can feel like, hey, I need to do all of them. Let's see, I'm working with a CPA. He uses QuickBooks Desktop and Quickens. Now I know why I wanted to niche in QBO. I move so much slower at other platforms right now. Yeah, most definitely. Can you tell us your thoughts on QBO online versus desktop? So as far as like QBO online versus desktop, I don't do desktop. Again, it's going to be one of those preferences. A lot of what you're seeing right now with desktop versus online, they're trying to push desktop to subscription based with that. Online just makes it so much easier for you, your client, everybody to have real time access to everything. Everybody has their preferences, and we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit today on like how do you choose, why do you choose one over the other, um, and those types of things for sure. So we'll break down pros, cons. Obviously, specifics on desktop versus online. I don't know a ton on that. There are like some features that people prefer in desktop versus online, but as things have progressed, throughout the years, online can do a lot of what desktop can do, and they are making tons of changes and stuff anyway. So and I can tell y'all this, I have had very few clients that I have ran into or potential clients that I've ran into that use um, desktop. And if they've used desktop, I've been able to convert them over to online and they've been okay with that. They understand and have saw like the price has increased on desktop. It's the changes in it and we're okay with making this switch. Um, okay, so now again, let's talk about like why are we choosing between like which softwares. y'all have heard my story before, most of you probably. I was trying to learn when I was starting my business, trying to learn software on top of the bookkeeping. So if you're trying to learn software on top of bookkeeping, it can be extremely overwhelming. So trying to learn all the platforms, it was one of those decisions where I was like, I'm not going to learn all the platforms. QuickBooks Online, I was able to find information on there, a course on that. I was able to get support around QuickBooks Online, those types of things. So that's what kind of pushed me toward that. So I would definitely think when you're considering a software, who do you have in your corner that can support you? Because even if it's um, whether it's desktop, whether it's online, or some other software, there could be, and even no matter how much you know the software, there could be glitches, there could be new features that you need to learn, there could be updates to the software. So you definitely want to make sure that you have somebody in your corner that you're able to ask questions to, bounce those ideas off of when things come up and things like that. Um, So the biggest things when you're trying to decide is you're going to want to, it's easier to get confidence in one platform versus bouncing back and forth when you're all over the place trying to learn all the platforms. You want to make sure you have a basic understanding of how the software fits into a bookkeeping process. So what does that look like? If you're familiar with QuickBooks Online, undeposited funds, that can always be like a nightmare. But if you know how to fix it, you know the process, you know what it should look like, you can make it, you know how to fix any issues that come up, help your client streamline that, things like that. So it's going to end up being things like that that are super helpful. Like the more you learn the software, the more you're involved in one particular software, and every software functions a little bit different on how they handle those features and things like that. So that'll be one of the things that you want to make sure that you know. And then of course, whatever your client needs. So whatever the core tasks that your clients have, what do they need it to do? Categorize, reconcile, what reports do we need? Is that software that you're looking at going to be capable of handling what they need for you? For not for you, from you from a bookkeeping standpoint. So whatever that may be. So it's very easy, and I'm going to say this, like this goes bookkeeping software, this goes with everything. There's so many different softwares and stuff out there, and we talk about this all the time. You can hop on tutorials, you can hop on courses, YouTube videos, like all the things, and then you're constantly bouncing back and forth trying to learn this, trying to be on this webinar, doing this, doing that. So it can get extremely overwhelming trying to figure out, now you've spent all this time on demos, tutorials. So if you just pick one and you stick with it, then you're able to really dive deep and know that software, become a pro in that software. So when people come to you and they're asking questions or they have issues or whatever the case is, you're able to help them work through those things. So let's compare a little bit, like three larger ones: QuickBooks Online, Xero, and Wave. So if you're looking at QuickBooks Online, I would say this is going to be one of your most popular ones. We made a post in the group this week, and somebody said when they were doing their research on like which software they were going to go with, I think the number they gave was like 84% of business owners are using QuickBooks Online. So I think it's something definitely to think about, like what area are you niching in? Who are the people in that area that you're going to be targeting? What kind of software are they using? What fits their needs the best? That type of thing. So that's going to be something that you definitely want to keep in mind as well. So QuickBooks Online is the most popular. Sometimes it can feel like it's too much for the clients, depending on like price wise, what all are they trying to do in there and stuff like that. But there are different tier levels of things you can do. And then of course, if you've got US based clients, and for accountants, QuickBooks Online has been wonderful. And then we got Xero. It's great for international use. a sleek design. It's less used in the US. There's limited support typically when you're looking at Xero. So again, that's something you kind of want to keep in mind if you have issues, who has support. And even when I say support, like who, we can even be talking coaches, because let's face it, sometimes QuickBooks is not the easiest to get in touch with and things like that. But it could be like, hey, is this happening today? Can anybody else get in QuickBooks today? Kind of thing. But you're able to shoot a message or send a message in a group and things like that. So what kind of support can you find around that, whether it's with the company itself or coaches and stuff outside of that who might be using the products? So I would say service-based businesses and international clients, this would be a great software for those types of clients. And then let's talk about Wave a little bit. So Wave is going to be super simple, super basic, very limited features. It does have a free option. I would definitely say it's not for the client that's trying to scale, trying to get to the next level. And it's very limited on what you can do. And I would definitely say for super small clients, Wave's one of those things that I guess probably in the last 2 or 3 years have started using just a little bit, but it's been for clients who they have multiple businesses. I have their larger businesses in QuickBooks. They have smaller businesses who have very few transactions and money that are flowing through it. So it was like, hey, we need something to be able to track the bookkeeping in without a subscription fee. So I put them in Wave for that, just to kind of cut down on the cost. And again, very minimal, the features it can do, things like that. So it's definitely, it depends on this type of client, the type of business, those types of things. If you are looking into Wave on using it for bookkeeping purposes. And honestly, as far as like from a support standpoint, it's been fairly easy to figure out. And I'm gonna knock on wood. I have not had any issues with anything where I've had to reach out and contact. But again, you're doing the very basic stuff in Wave typically, for those clients when you're using it. So I would say if you're brand new to bookkeeping, again, try to figure out, I would stick with one software and learn it really well. Try to figure out what your niche is using. What are the people that your ideal clients that you're wanting to work with? What are they using? So like somebody mentioned Sage earlier. So if that's something that you feel like your audience is using, then I would definitely look into that QuickBooks Desktop. If you feel like that's something that your clients are using, there's some support around that. That's something that you can use. But again, a lot of people are kind of getting away from desktop more than they have been. But definitely look at it from that standpoint. But I would stick with one software to start with for sure. Don't get yourself overwhelmed in the beginning. So things to look at, and I just kind of touched on a lot of this, but things that we want to make sure you're looking at when you're trying to figure out in the beginning which software to use. Is it beginner friendly? Are there trainings available? So I don't know all of Xero Wave, like all their trainings that are available, but we know QuickBooks Online has Pro Advisor training and all of these things, and these are free to you. Will your clients actually use it? Can you handle basic things like categorizing, reconciling, and running reports? And when I say running reports, like what types of reports are your clients needing to run? So you want to make sure that you're keeping that in mind too, because if there's some more specific reports, some of the softwares may not be able to handle it. So like Wave, if there was a specific report, I might not be able to do it for that client, like class tracking and things like that, whereas it could be done in QuickBooks Online. And I'm just using these as an example. If y'all have any questions about any of that, I'm happy to try to answer. If I don't know, we'll try to figure it out. If y'all have questions about the specific softwares, if you're trying to choose between. So a couple of things that I definitely would not necessarily worry about would be what your future clients might use. Like we definitely want to focus on like, hey, And when I'm saying this, I mean like one-off client, like, oh, well, I might run into this one client who is going to do this. Okay, well, you might, but let's cross that bridge when we get there at the same time. Let's really focus on like, hey, I know I'm going into the construction industry. I know majority of the people that are in the construction industry that they are using QuickBooks Online because they can project track, they can do all these different things in there. So let's really learn that software and get familiar with it first. Um, and then you want to make sure, I wouldn't worry about right now mastering advanced features, so invoicing, payroll, inventory, things like that, until let's cross that bridge when we get there. Let's learn the basics of whatever software we're using. Now, if you come across a client who needs to invoice, who needs to inventory track, those types of things, then we need to find a software that does have those functionalities of it. And then another thing, don't learn every software on the market. It's going to get too overwhelming for you, especially in the beginning if you're trying to learn bookkeeping. And I'm going to also say this, even if you have an accounting degree, you've done bookkeeping for corporate, you've done this, like we see and we talk to bookkeepers and stuff all the time. And just because you've done it in the corporate world, now you're dealing with, when you're starting your bookkeeping business, you're dealing with a lot of smaller businesses, a lot of different industries typically, and not everything is cut and dry and the same thing across the board. Everybody does things a little differently. Every business is going to be set up a little bit differently and different things like that. So it's not going to be like, oh, I'm doing construction and everybody is going to be, this is how they're going to do it. There can be some one-off situations. So it is can be a huge learning experience in the beginning. Let's see, what is the easiest niche to get started if you're new to bookkeeping? I would say the easiest is going to be a service-based business. That can that can be a loaded question, because you can still have some service-based businesses. So like construction is service-based business, but it can be extremely complex if you're dealing with project tracking and things along those lines. Um, I would say like, okay, estheticians, that can be very straightforward, but you can also have ones who have inventory, they're selling products, stuff like that. So then it can get complex. But I would say definitely start with like a service-based business. Coaches, a lot of your smaller businesses are going to be more straightforward. But then like, even I'm saying coaches, but like, okay, now are you adding Stripe payment, PayPal, like these types of things. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind, but I would focus service-based, and kind of think from there, like, is there anything that you feel like like, I don't know what your background is, that you're coming from, that you have some experience on that you can relate and have those conversations, because that'll be super helpful from that standpoint. Massage therapist, hairstylist, anything like that can be fairly straightforward. Landscapers, it can be. It would depend on, I would say, the size of it. It would also depend on the state. Probably most states you don't pay sales tax on services. There are some who have sales tax and things like that. And then are they invoicing in QuickBooks? How are they handling their invoicing and stuff? But they should be fairly straightforward for the most part. Are streamers on the easier side? Like, there's earning income from social media performers and singers. They definitely, it can be. It's gonna be another one of those things, like how are they receiving their income and stuff, but it should be fairly straightforward, for the most part. I'm gonna tell you a thing I've seen a lot of times with those, when you're saying streamers, is a lot of times they don't even realize until it's too late that they should have been tracking expenses and having separate accounts and things like that. So that could be some things that you run into, but it could very well, um PayPal, yeah. So it could very well be a good industry to go in, and like, hey, let's get on top of it before you get to the end, because a lot of them will receive 1099 and then it's like, oh no, like I didn't know I needed separate bank accounts, I didn't know I needed to be tracking expenses and stuff like that. PayPal can be easy. It's not, I'm not going to say it's perfect or anything like that. It just depends on how are they using it. Is their money getting deposited into PayPal and then going straight into their bank account, or is it sitting there and then they're spending and all those things? So you just want to almost treat PayPal like its own bank account. So yeah, I think that would be fairly easy enough starting out. You're welcome. Okay, so another thing to remember is like your clients are not using or not hiring you because you know every tool, all the things. One, they usually reach out to you because it's like, hey, you know something they don't know. They need help with this, they need support around this. So they're reaching out and saying, like, hey, help me. Not because they expect you to know QuickBooks Online, Desktop, Sage, Wave, Xero, all the things. So they're usually, again, like I said, most clients that I've had that reach out either already have QuickBooks Online, or potential clients, I'm sorry, have either already had QuickBooks Online set up. If they were on another platform, they were okay with moving over to QuickBooks Online. So whatever software, if they want to work with you, if they're meant to be your client, they're going to be open to switching to whatever softwares you're open to using. So um, if you're brand new starting from scratch, I would and no idea where to start, I would highly recommend QuickBooks Online, is where I would start. Obviously that is where I started. So if you're using mostly US based clients, obviously that's probably what 84% of them are using. Wave, you could try this to get some hands-on experience, build some confidence. It's absolutely free. QuickBooks Online, again, they do have the training. Once you set up your account, you can do your business books in there under your accountant account for free as well. So you can get some experience that way. And then I would say like Xero, if you're up to it later or you have potentials, but it's probably not something I would necessarily specifically start out with. I would definitely go try to set up a fake business inside the software, play around with it. Um, the best way to build confidence is going to be get in there, get hands-on experience, click buttons, make it work. So, and what do I mean by that? Again, if you already have your bookkeeping business set up, you can go ahead and put that stuff in any of your fees that you're having in the beginning of the business. So if you've purchased courses, if you've purchased laptops, if you're paying like your LLC fees, like all these things, all that's going to be expenses on your business. So you can get those things set up in QuickBooks Online and get that practice. If you don't have any expenses yet and you're just like, hey, I want to get in and play around, you could definitely take like your personal bank account and do your personal books, code things, just so you can get in there, code, reconcile, and do those types of things. If you're doing QuickBooks Online, I would go with like the Ledger account. It's only like $10 a month, I think. If you wanted to set up Ledger and do your personal books in there, just so you can get some experience on how do I set up a new chart of accounts? How do I connect a bank account? Like, what does that entire process looks like? Because that's where you're going to build your confidence and you're going to be able to go out and you're going to do more things, is building the confidence to take on the clients, getting the experience, and you're going to see it's not as scary as it feels. So some of the common mistakes that we see with choosing between softwares is bookkeepers are bouncing between too many different tools. They're forgetting how this functions in there. They're not mastering whichever one they're doing. Another thing is waiting to learn the software before, like after you get clients and stuff. Go ahead and start, if you don't have the clients yet, start playing around, start getting the confidence in that. Let's see, I am starting to track revenues and spend in QBO Essentials. It looks like they are phasing out tags. Any ideas how to approach it? Yes, they are phasing out tags. Tell me what you're using tags for. And then we can kind of go from there because tags is something that I've never used. So there's tons of other features and stuff that you can use. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. Imposter syndrome is something that like everybody, I'm saying it's a real thing. It should not be a real thing, but everybody deals with it a lot. It's just a lack of confidence, honestly. And that comes from you just need more experience and doing it. So I don't know like your background, where you're coming from. Again, I had zero experience when I started. But the biggest way that I gained confidence was to get out there and get clients and start doing the work. I made sure that I had people in my corner that could help me do the work. And so like we have our course set up where you could like watch the course material. And then if you need to hop in one-to-ones, we have coaches who are there to support you and help you in that process. So like know that going in, because it can be scary, especially brand new. Like you don't want to mess somebody's books up. I don't even understand what I'm doing. I remember the first time, like, I don't even understand fully what bookkeeping means, but I'm like, hey, I knew that this was going to be a route for me to make income. And I knew myself as a person that I was not going to go in, mess up somebody's books. If I did not know what I was doing, I was going to be like, hey, asking questions, trying to figure it out, making sure I was handing over good, correct books before they filed their taxes. So you have to know you as a person and know that you're not going to do that. And then also have confidence in the resources that you have around you. So the people, the coaches, all those sort of things. Tracking expenses and sales for different lines of businesses and locations. So I mean, you would have to get plus for that. And then because there's location tracking and there's class tracking, I would say different lines of businesses, clarify that to me, because if they have different separate EINs, they should have separate QuickBooks. If it's just locations, but it's the same business, like we have location A, B, and C for this, or like, hey, we have different properties, like it's a property management company and they have several different properties, you can class track, you can location track those, but they would need plus to be able to do so. That's honestly a better option than the tags anyway, because of the way the reports and stuff run. So, okay. And then another common mistake is choosing software based on it looks easy instead of what your clients can actually use and need. So I would make a decision, commit to learning one platform. Clarity alone is going to give you momentum. So just knowing and getting started and making traction, that is going to make a huge difference for sure. Okay, so we had questions as we were going through. Does anybody else have any other questions about any of that? About choosing software? Again, imposter syndrome, it's a real thing. It's tough, especially in the beginning of your business. I would say continue to do like tons of mindset work. If you have not started, start doing some mindset work. Fear is Not the Boss of You, highly, highly recommend, by Jennifer Allwood. Because everything like the imposter syndrome, all that is fear-based. She was on our podcast last year, and let me look up these words so I can read all the exact definition. But since we're talking about imposter syndrome, she gave the exact definitions of because if you break out imposter and you break out syndrome, imposter is someone who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others. And syndrome is a disease. So if you think about it from that standpoint, are you pretending to be someone that you're not in order to deceive others? Typically we're not. So like we need to get out of our head in that way. But I get what you're saying, because you're doubting yourself, you're doubting your abilities, but that's the true definition of, like, if you break out the words, what does imposter syndrome mean? So you're not an imposter at all. And again, you have to know yourself, know the people that are in your corner, know that you're going to get the support you need and be able to hand over good books that they need. but the way it's fear-based at the end of the day, and the way to get over any fear is just to continue to do it. So fear is like a muscle. And if you go to the gym, when you work out, it's hard. Does it ever fully, like those pains from going to work out, ever go away? No, because you keep pushing yourself to the next limit when you're going to work out. So like this got easier. Well, now I'm pushing myself to the next level. So every level it's going to get harder, but it gets easier the more you do it. So think about it from that standpoint. The more you show up. So what are you scared of at the end of the day? Are you afraid of not knowing something that a client comes to you with? Like, where is that imposter syndrome coming from? Is it having the conversations with the client? Is it actually doing the work? Where is it rooted? So you really want to figure that out. And then from there, work on that. So is it having actually having the conversations that's scaring you? Because what if I don't know the answers? What if I say the wrong things? Those types of things. Okay, let's go have some conversations then. Is it showing up on social media, marketing yourself? Because people are going to think I'm crazy because I'm doing a bookkeeping business and I've never done bookkeeping before. Show up and do it. Like, let's see. And one thing that she says in her book, okay, so the conversations and messing up books. One thing that she says in her, I lost my train of thought that I was going to say on that. I don't know where I was going with that. But okay, so conversations and messing up the books. I would say go out and practice the conversations then. Who can you talk to about bookkeeping? The more conversations that you have, the easier it's going to get. One thing to remember is everybody who owns a business, even if it's like, hey, I inherited this family business, that person at some point in time did not know, and they probably still don't know everything about their business or their industry or anything along those lines. So, and when I'm saying that, you're going to ask them a question and they're not going to know the answer always. It's okay to tell people, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. That was one thing that I was always so worried about. Like, what if I tell this person I don't know, and then they're just going to be like totally ugly to me? I'm going to sound stupid. I'm not going to know. And I'm going to tell you, y'all may probably heard me say this before, but my very first conversation with somebody, this was pre-COVID. So everything was like, hey, we have to meet in person. It wasn't a ton of online, Zoom, like all that stuff at the time. And it was like, hey, let's meet at a coffee shop and talk about this. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm even doing still. How am I going to have this conversation? So I'm in a coffee shop parking lot about to throw up because I'm like, there's no way I can have this conversation. There's no way I can do this. And but I reminded myself of what my why was. My why was I needed to start a business because I needed to create time freedom to be there for my daughter because I had missed out on 11 years of her life up until that point, it felt like, because I was working all the time. So I knew if I didn't walk through that door and try, it would never happen. So I'm like, if this is what's meant to be, I'm going to walk through this door and happen. I walked through and she signed on as client. So you just never know. And you all, like, we are our worst enemies. Always think about like, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you go into this conversation and you don't know the answer to the question? You're going to tell them you don't know. They're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to hire them as a bookkeeper, and then move on. There's other clients out there. There are, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses every year that are starting brand new businesses. So like there's other businesses out there. So we can't get hung up on that. Somebody told me early on in my business, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And I've hung on to that forever because, and the way I've went into it, it changed how I showed up at the conversations. Because if you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, then I'm going into this conversation as a learning experience. What can I learn from this conversation? Because no matter what I say, it's not right or wrong. It's just this person is meant to be my client or not my client at the end of the day. So what does that look like for you? Okay, what questions did they ask that I did not know the answers to? What questions should I have asked that I didn't ask this time that now I'm trying to quote and I'm like, oh no, I needed this help. Like there's so many different things with that that can help. I'll also, let me find this link real quick. I'll drop, this will help from a conversation standpoint. We have like a list of questions to ask potential clients. So as you're having these conversations with potentials, if you're trying to quote them, we have tons of things. I want to say it's 63 questions or something. Again, it doesn't fit every single client, and you'll go as you read through the list, as the conversation goes on, you'll know, okay, I need to ask them these, I don't need that. But it can be a good guide in the beginning until you get familiar with like, hey, what are questions I need to ask clients? As far as messing up books, again, like I said earlier, make sure that you know yourself. And I don't know your background. I don't know, like, are you in a course? Have you purchased a program? Do you have an accounting degree? Do you have experience? I don't know all that about you. But we have a course. There's courses out there. If ours isn't a good fit and somebody else's is. But when we created our program, coaching, the Bookkeeper Blueprint, we put everything in there. Me and Sherry, and then we have 10 other coaches. What are things that we wished we had when we started our bookkeeping business? What would have been super helpful? What did I go buy Bookkeeping for Dummies for? What were we Googling on the internet wishing we had answers to? All of those types of things, because again, I did not have experience. So I needed the basic stuff. And so we put all of that in there, and then also knew like, hey, one-to-ones would have been super helpful to be able to hop on a call and somebody walk me through, hey, this is what you need to do, or hey, I need to review those books, or whatever the case is. Or like group coaching where we can hop on and ask questions. Facebook group and Zoom calls. So like we set all of that stuff up because like, hey, this is stuff that would be super helpful. So know yourself. And again, if you're just starting out, I was a single mom. So it's like my business had to pay for itself. So sign a client, invest in your business, and we have individual one-to-ones. You could purchase one-to-one at a time if you need it to make sure that that's, and there's other programs out there as well. Again, so whatever would be a good fit for you and your business, but know yourself that like, hey, I'm going to have somebody review this. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. I know my personality. I know I'm not going to hand over something that I halfway did, or I didn't double check, or whatever the case is. So know that about yourself as well. And I know that about you because you're already worried from an imposter syndrome standpoint, and you're worried about the conversations and messing up books. If you weren't worried, then you wouldn't care. Okay, let's see. And I even look, oh, let me grab that link real quick before I go on to the next question, before I forget, because I will forget. And this is just going to be a link. Again, this is if you have, if you want to get, where's that? If you want to it's a freebie for 63 questions to ask your potential clients. Funny, I say Bookkeeper for Dummies. I have that book in front of me. That was like my go-to. I can tell you, like, there was so many times like people are saying assets, liabilities, like all that. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Debit and credit. I don't know which way any of that goes. It's like literally plugging it in and trying and seeing how it goes. So totally, like, you do what you got to do. And again, you know you, and you know you're not going to hand over something that's not correct and not accurate, and all the things. Let's see. And I even look at it the opposite. I say, what's the best thing that can happen? You don't have them as a client, so you can't lose. The best thing you can do is gain a client, or at least gain some experience from the conversation. Yeah, that is so true. And that's what I would do. And again, I don't know if y'all, one thing you definitely have to make sure that you know is what your why is. And why, and this is what from software to mindset, so I apologize, but if y'all been around me, Anna, Cynthia, y'all have seen for sure. Mindset is my thing. I love mindset. I had to do so much mindset in the work in the beginning of my business. I forgot where I was going with that. I'm sorry, y'all. I keep getting distracted. Oh, but make sure you know what your why is. The reason, because your why is going to be what drives you at the end of the day, because fears are going to happen, things are going to happen, you're going to have to show up anyway. So like when I was in that coffee shop parking lot, I could have easily just been like, oh nope, I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to do this today, like all the things, and just never went in, never tried to make it happen. But I remembered my why, and it's got to be something that makes you emotional. It's got to be something that you're really passionate about, that you're like, okay, no matter what it takes today, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it. So when you don't feel good, when you've had a long night and long hours, because guess what, y'all? When I started my business, I had a 2-hour commute in the morning, 2-hour commute in the evening. So I'm getting up at 4:30 every day, driving to work, working, coming home, not going to bed till 10, 11 o'clock at night, because I was doing work when I got home, like all the things. And I'm a single mom. So kids to take care of, like all the things. So you have to, there's many days where it's like, I don't want to get up early and I don't want to do the post and all the things. So what can you do to remind yourself of like, hey, what is your why? It's got to be something that makes you emotional. There was a specific situation that happened with my daughter that made me like, hey, I've got to change stuff, because other people were bringing her to practice and all the things. The coach didn't even know I was her mom. That's how little I was around, because I was working so much, because other people were bringing her to practice and stuff. So like that specific situation, like replayed in my mind so many times that I'm like, okay, something's got to change. This cannot be what God has for me. This cannot be the plan for my life, to miss out on my daughter's life, you know? So you have to know what your why is, and you have to be willing to push for it as much as you can. So what Anna said, yes, definitely make sure you're looking at it from both standpoints. Like, what's the best thing that's going to come of this, and what's the worst thing? But a lot of people, the reason you get the fear is because, and Jennifer Allwood says it in her book, Fear is Not the Boss of You. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to show up to this because they're afraid of what other people are going to think and all this. Like, but at the end of the day, are you going to die? Like, that's kind of how she says it. Like, are you going to die? No, you're not. Like, it'll be fine. This person's not going to sign up as a client. You're going to move on. Everything's going to be fine. And even like social media, marketing, all of that. A lot of people as bookkeepers, we don't want to show up. We're introverted, like all of the things. You don't want to put yourself out there. What are other people going to think about me because I'm posting all over Facebook advertising my business? Or what are they going to think about me when I go to this networking group and I have very little experience and all that? Who cares? There's other people out there. These people are not paying your bills. You need to pay your bills. You have goals to reach and all of the things. Have a good weekend, Ann. Um, but yeah, so sorry, I got off on a mindset tangent, but does anybody have any other questions? Was this helpful? I dropped the link for the 63 questions in Zoom. I'll drop it on Facebook as well if anybody is watching there. Um, and again, this is just to kind of help lead that conversation as you're having these conversations with potentials. So the people who mentioned like there was fear around that, use this to help you lead the conversations. Y'all, if y'all have any other questions though, even if it's not mindset or software based, I'm happy to answer them. So let me know what y'all have. Yeah, you're welcome. That's what we're here for, y'all. We want to answer any questions that y'all do have at all, especially the beginning. If y'all missed any of the podcast in the past, they are on our website and they're on YouTube, so you can catch replays and stuff. So you should essentially be able to take our information and be able to go start a bookkeeping business, is what our goal and our hope is for you. And then if you need support, we're here to help support and get to the next level and all the things. So we do like to use these calls to open up for Q&A, answer any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Tim. I saw that question earlier and I got sidetracked. What other non-bookkeeping softwares would you recommend to support your business? Keeper is a great software. Equip 360 is great. Keeper and I don't know specifically what types of softwares or like what functions you're looking, I guess, in a software. But like Keeper is great to be able to get all of the reports and stuff from your clients and get that stuff uploaded, to be able to use it as a portal, communicate with the clients, those types of things. Keeper is great for that. Equip 360 is great from a standpoint of like if you're looking for a website, email marketing, you can schedule posts from there. So like it has a calendar, like your calendar, you can use it instead of Calendly. Um, all of those types of functions. So I would say like those would be my top two softwares outside of like a bookkeeping software. Um, there's a Clip 360, a link. It's keeper.app, I think. Let me find the link for that. Keeper.app. Um, and we have like tons of, like if you're in our program, we have tons of support and stuff around keeper.app and stuff as well. Because a lot of our coaches, we've done trainings in the past and stuff. We have some trainings coming up in the future as well, like more in-depth trainings on it, and things like that, because tons of our coaches use it and love it. So if there's something else that you are like a different function that you're looking for in a different type of software, let me know. That those would be like my top two. And again, y'all, if you're just starting out, don't feel like you have to do it and learn all the softwares and stuff. I can tell you the only thing that I did when I started my business was QuickBooks Online and then Google Drive. That's I set up my Gmail email address. I purchased my domain and set up my email address through Google, got Google Drive for the business standpoint and stuff. But everything I did there. Because I need it the cheapest, freest way possible. So you don't have to invest in the softwares. If you're going to do like Keeper and stuff like that, you can include those in your monthly fees. So it kind of pays for itself. Um, but don't feel like you have to learn all the softwares in the beginning either. But if you want to, they're there. They're great. Okay. Anybody have any other questions before we hop off? I don't see anything, I believe, on Facebook or anywhere. All right, and let's see. Any liability concerns with getting bank statements through email, Google Drive over a secure? Um, so I wouldn't get them to just email it to you. I would definitely use Google Drive, and you can passcode Google Drive, like the folders and stuff. And then as long as you have like cyber insurance, you have your insurance set up and stuff, and your security is good from that standpoint, from an insurance perspective, because like to get uh cyber security insurance, they go through like it's a big long process, testing everything, making sure firewalls are good and all that stuff. You should be fine. Again, I used it in the beginning of my business. Again, I would not just send it through email though, but Google Drive, um, and passcode it. And then, so next week, y'all, we have a guest hopping on with us. I need to confirm for sure the topic. But some of y'all are familiar with Cameron Montgomery. He will be joining us next week. So we'll be talking a little bit about marketing. So as soon as I confirm for sure what the specific marketing topic is, we'll make a post and y'all will be able to see that. And then we'll continue on with like the more bookkeeping stuff. But next week he'll be on with us for that. So we're super excited to have him on. And again, I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with him. But yeah, hope everybody has an I can't even talk, awesome Easter, spring break, holiday, whatever you celebrate. over the weekend. And if y'all have any questions, if y'all need support in any way, feel free to post in the group. We're happy to help y'all answer questions and support y'all. And if not, we will see y'all here next Thursday. We look forward to seeing y'all again. And don't forget, bring any questions that y'all have. The beginning will be training and we'll do Q&A and we can answer any of your questions that you have. So if it's bookkeeping related, marketing, any of those things, happy to answer those at the end. But if you have marketing specific questions, definitely bring those next week because Cameron will be on and he is definitely the marketing, especially when you're dealing with Facebook and stuff, go-to for that, for accountants and bookkeepers. So let us know what questions y'all have and y'all have an awesome weekend. Bye.